everyone, this is Zeroraptor coming back at you yet again, and this is going to be the last MMORPG centric video I'm going to be making. I don't know if I'm gonna record anymore because I really don't have a lot of time these days to explore new MMOs. So this is pretty much gonna encompass all the MMOs that I've played, which include MMOs that aren't around anymore because some of these did shut down in the past and I don't think there's any chance of them reviving. So these are all the MMOs I've played between 2005 to 2015, starting with Ragnarok Online and ultimately ending with Tree of Savior. So between 2005 and 2015, I've played 23 MMORPGs. That's a lot of MMOs to bounce around in 10 years. So yeah, I don't really know if I'm gonna try any new ones. I know there's still, Ultima Online, the grandfather of all MMOs, and EverQuest, but again, I don't know if I'm gonna have the time to make accounts and explore those games, because I have other projects and games that I want to play, so we'll see where the future takes us. So anyways, I'm just gonna make this final tier list because some of these MMOs, I know they do exist, but I just don't feel like making actual gameplay videos on them, either because they just didn't interest me at all, or because I just don't feel like doing it. So anyways, I'm gonna start with my first MMO ever, Ragnarok Online. It's a good game. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. There's a lot of potential to be had with it, but the developer, Gravity, they're just really milking it for money. They're putting like there's too many RNG elements into it, and they're being so dependent on the cash shop that I can't really give this a high score. So I mean, I'll put this in, let's put it in the C tier. And then Ragnarok Online 2, the sequel, so much potential. Again, Gravity didn't do much with it. Like, as much as I don't blame the game for just having bad developers, I just gotta put in the D tier because it's like, it's barely a game. Earth Eternal, okay, this, I don't think it ever left beta, but there was like a huge ad campaign for it where the main draw to the game was that it featured no humans, no elves, and no orcs. So I think they boasted like 23 different races. So there was like tigers, bears, lions, wolves. It was basically a furry game, but it wasn't a bad game from what I was able to play of it. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the funding to get it out of beta test. But I mean, again, it had the potential, but it just didn't have the funding to back it up. So I'm gonna have to put it into the D tier, unfortunately. Lord of the Rings Online, one of my favorite games. Quests are they're not bad, but I don't know, maybe the later quests got a bit more dynamic, kind of like World of Warcraft, but I mean, it's a pretty solid game. The roleplay options are just phenomenal, so if you're looking for a game where you can roleplay with your friends to your heart's content, and you can even start up your own band, play some music. If you look up Lord of the Rings Online bands on YouTube, there's a bunch of people that managed to play a whole slew of songs like the Pirates of the Caribbean theme and a bunch of other themes. It's amazing what people do with the music player in Lord of the Rings Online, and I always love seeing a live band in the game. So I mean, I'm sorry, even with all the shortcomings it has, I still gotta put it up in the S tier. It belongs in S tier. And then World of Warcraft, yeah, the costume system isn't great because you're just basically skinning your gear, and you still have to go and visit a transmog NPC to get your gear reskinned every time you switch gears out. But on the whole, like, the developers, they did a really good job with it. I mean, I can't even count how many expansions they have now, but I'm like, as much as they've tinkered around with the mechanics of the game so much, it's still a pretty good game to play. It's at least S tier, because like a lot of developers, they want the profitability of World of Warcraft, but they're not willing to put the effort into it. And World of Warcraft, like, love it or hate it, it's had effort put into it, so that's definitely S tier. 12 Sky 2, oh my gosh. This game got me into trying out PvP and other MMOs, and I mean the combat system wasn't fantastic or anything, but the PvP features that they had were kind of interesting, but that's really all it had for it. The questing was pretty bare basic, and it didn't have anything. There's no other leveling features in the game. It was pretty much all you do is just kill monsters and you do quests to get EXP. So I'm sorry, you're too one note, so you gotta go into the E tier. I mean, it's a playable game, not really buggy, not all that laggy, but I still have to put it in the E tier. Requiem, it has an interesting concept, because like how many MMORPGs out there have a horror theme to it? So I give it that they try to be creative with it, but they didn't really go far with it. And being the developers being Gravity again, same as Ragnarok and Ragnarok Online 2, they threw it out there and they didn't do more with it. And now it's kind of like they passed on developmental rights to Gravity Interactive, their North American branch, and right now is in maintenance mode because they really don't know where to take this game. I mean, it has potential. It's not a badly made game, but I don't know. I would say D tier. It's got potential, but unfortunately it doesn't go anywhere with it. Silk Road Online, I would have to put you in the F tier, my man. They decided to pick a theme that's so, like, you can't really expand on it. Like, everything's just based around the Silk Road, the real life Silk Road in, like, Asia. And being able to pick only from, like, a European or Chinese characters, already limiting as it is, but you can't even customize the characters. Like, they have, like, a set of, like, preset characters with already set hairs and eyes and facial features, and you can't do anything with it other than just, you basically got a pre-made avatar for you. And that's like, you don't play an MMORPG for someone to make an avatar for you. You're supposed to be able to customize your own avatar. So Silk Road, I'm sorry, you're going to F tier. Tree of Savior. I mean, last time I played it, it was pretty buggy. It feels like the design of the game was really meant for like a single player RPG. It doesn't feel like something that works in a multiplayer environment, and especially MMORPG. The world is designed very linearly. Like, there's not a lot of open space where you can like explore and hunt monsters. I mean, they have like treasure chests in the game, which I don't know if that would work in an MMORPG, because then it's like, do those treasure chests respawn after some time? And then it's like, well, once someone finds it, they're gonna go put it up on a wiki, and then everyone else finds it, and then it doesn't feel as special anymore. So it's a good game, but I don't feel it's a good MMORPG. So I would have to say E tier. It's not horribly bad, but it's not a game that's suited for an MMORPG. Suinian Sword Online, aka Dream of Mirror Online. The concept is interesting, but like after 15 or so years of activity, like it doesn't look like they've improved much, and I really hate that the gears that you wear take up space in your inventory. Like, that doesn't make any sense in any respect at all. I'm sure the story of the game is good, but everything else about it, the fact that they didn't even like polish the UI looks the same as it did when I played it so many years ago. They didn't really improve it all that much, so I would have to say F tier. I'm sorry, Dream of Mirror fans. I mean, I know the game got dropped by Aria and then got picked up by Suba Games, and I know there's a decent sized fan base for it, but as a game on its own, I can't really say it's that great of an MMO. Holy Beast Online. This is a game that's dead, so there's no way you can play this game at all, same as Earth Eternal. The concept is it's based on the four holy beasts of Chinese mythos, which is the white tiger, the blue dragon, the firebird, and the black snake tortoise, but it didn't it didn't really build upon that mythos very well. The quest, when I was doing it, it didn't really seem all that interesting. It was like, oh yeah, the main enemy is this group of people because they're bad, and they didn't really add much depth to it, so the story kind of sucks. And the concept was that every player character has a human form and a beast form, so it's basically like Werewolf Online or Were-Animal Online, where you can like turn from human to beast anytime you want, which is an interesting concept, but then it's like, well, how does that play into the story or the gameplay? Because it doesn't really expand on that much. So I'm sorry, F tier. I'm sorry to everyone who has nostalgic memories of Holy Beast Online, and like it was an okay game, but it didn't feel like an interesting enough concept to go far with it. Dungeon Fighter Online, I'm sorry, F tier. F tier. This is not an MMO at all. It is basically a dungeon lobby game. I don't know why they categorize it as an MMO. I would put it as a subcategory of MMO, which is like you have like a hub, and then there's like teleport areas where you can go into dungeons and you just level on monsters there, and then you go back to the hub area and then you rinse and repeat. And it's like, yeah, there's quests in there, but the concept itself doesn't lend itself to be worth calling an MMORPG, because you're only in one town, and then from there you just portal out to all these different dungeons, which there's not that many, so you're gonna explore all the dungeons, and then what? Where else are you gonna go with the game? There's not like there's a world map where you can like travel to other towns. You just have like one hub, and then you go to all these different dungeons. So yeah, I would not even categorize it as MMO. This is like a dungeon lobby kind of game. Cabal Online. I barely remember playing this. I have screenshots of it, so I guess it wasn't all that memorable to me. Like I remember doing quests and fighting monsters, and the character customization was okay. It wasn't all that detailed, so I guess I would put it in like E tier? I don't even know if this game is still alive. I think it is, but yeah, I have little to no memory of this game, but I do remember playing it. I have screenshots that prove that I played it. Final Fantasy XI. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to be F tier for me. I don't know if they changed the gameplay. I don't care to look. I mean, given what happened between me and the support GM and everything, I mean, you can go through my Final Fantasy XI video and see all that in detail, but personally for me, I would put in F tier. And recently they announced that, oh yeah, the story of Final Fantasy XI is over, so there's not going to be any more quests being added to the game. It's like, that's it. So if you play from level 1 to whatever max level, that's the end of the game. And I feel that's not in the spirit of an MMORPG. An MMORPG is supposed to be a game that goes on and on and on. You can't just say, oh, the story ends here and that's it. It's like, you might as well just make it a console RPG with like multiplayer options. Yeah, I'm sorry. Rose Online. I've played this for a little bit. Wasn't all that remarkable to me. The main concept is like mostly fantasy in tone, but you travel to all these different planets, and like there's different leveling ranges depending on which planet you go to, which is, I mean, the tone is okay because it's very like a cartoony anime style game, but the concept was like, is this a sci-fi or fantasy? Because it feels like a mix of both. It's an okay game. I wouldn't say it's great. Unfortunately, it's pretty much defunct now. The last developers, Gravity Interactive, halted development on it, so I don't think they've ever finished implementing all the planets, because I think there were supposed to be like 7 planets by the end of the development, but they only got to like either 3 or 4 planets implemented. I guess I could put it in D tier. It's not a bad game. It had potential, but I mean, I personally didn't like it, but yeah, I'll put it D tier. Rift. This surprised me so much because it looked like a generic 3D MMORPG, which in some respects it is, but at the same time, the developers, Trion, really did put a good amount of effort into it, and it really shows. Like, the UI is polished. They implemented holidays into the game in a way that fits into the world of the game, which, you know, a lot of MMORPG developers don't even bother doing that. So they really try to keep the lore of the game very contained within the world. I would put this A tier. This is a good game. I wouldn't say it's as good as Lord of the Rings or Warcraft, but it's up there, I would say. Mabinogi Heroes. F tier, I'm sorry. For anyone who doesn't realize, Mabinogi Heroes in the West is known as Vindictus, and I think they just ended up rebranding it as Vindictus. But Mabinogi Heroes is supposed to be the prequel to the other MMORPG, Mabinogi, which I haven't played myself. My younger sister plays it. But basically, Mabinogi Heroes is another dungeon lobby game like Dungeon Fighter. It's like a better version of Dungeon Fighter, but not by much, because after a while the dungeons will get boring unless they keep adding more dungeons. I mean, I haven't checked back, but again, it's like, well, you're stuck in this one hub with everyone else and all you're doing is finding parties and going to all these dungeons. So, I mean, I would not classify that as an MMO. It's a dungeon lobby game. Kitsu Saga. Oh my goodness. I would F tier. F tier. I think this game is pretty much defunct too. I haven't seen any sign of it. My younger sister and I tried it out because it looked cute, because you get this little like kitsune partner that follows you around and stuff. But the one thing that turned my sister and me off from the game really quickly was the fact that you can set it to autoplay for you. And when my younger sister and I saw that in the tutorial, we're like, what the hell? It's like, why would we want to play an MMO that plays itself for us? Like, why are we even here? Like, we really don't understand it at all. It's like, this game was actually developed to have autoplay features. Like, what's the point of us playing an MMO if you're just gonna play the game for us? I think that was the quickest we've ever just like YOLO'd out of the game, cause like we didn't even leave the beginner area. We just went through like the tutorial part, and then once it got to the part where it's like, oh yeah, here's how you program your character to play by itself, we're like, nope, we're getting out of there. We're out. So yeah, that game, it deserves to die, really. So Blade and Soul. I'm gonna have to put this in the E tier. Actually, I would put it more in the F tier. It has a really great combat system. It's very dynamic, it's unique to each job class, but the one thing that really kills it for me is every single character, no matter what race or what job class you pick, starts from the exact same area and go through the exact same quests. And it's a very, very linear game. When I try to make two characters to like get an idea of how each job class works, knowing that I'm gonna have to go through the same quest every character, how is that an MMO? The maps themselves are very linear, almost as linear as Tree of Savior. The quests are all the same. You're doing the same quests as everyone else. The only thing it has going for them, it's a combat system, which, I mean, it's gonna give me arthritis after a few years of playing. So, I'm sorry, there's really nothing else to Blade and Soul. You're just going through the same path as everyone else, and the story's okay, but not enough for me to repeat it for every single character I play, so I'm gonna have to put that into S tier. The anime was great though. The Blade and Soul anime was fantastic. When I heard it had its own anime, I went and watched and I was like, this is actually good. I would say it's a little bit better than the game version, but yeah, F tier. Sorry, Blade and Soul fans, I really can't put it any higher than that. It just has, it's a one-hit wonder kind of game. Draconica Online, which in North America got localized to Dragon Saga because of trademark disputes. It's a side-scroller MMO, which I'm not really a big fan of myself. I mean, there's also Maple Story. Yeah, Maple Story. Maple Story was also a side-scroller MMO. I mean, the design and the art style is cute, and like the combat is okay. But if you're making an MMO, which is supposed to be an open world experience, why would you pick side-scroller as like the gameplay style? It doesn't really make sense to me, so I would put it E tier. I know I barely have anything in B tier, because it's just like so many MMOs out there that are either super good or super bad. There's like not a lot that are in the middle. Phantasy Star Online 2, again, I'm putting it in F tier because it's just another dungeon lobby game, just like Dungeon Fighter and Mabinogi Heroes. All you do is you log in, you have a hub, and you just go out to different dungeons, level up, grind, whatever. Yeah, that's all there is to it. I mean, every player has their own apartment that you can expand and decorate depending on what you're able to grab in the various dungeons, but I feel like you got an apartment and a dungeon lobby. That's really not much for an MMO. I'm sorry. I can't play a game like that. I can't. It's like, I'm playing an MMORPG, which I expect to have like a huge world to explore, and if you're just gonna give me a lobby and dungeons to teleport out to, it's like, what's the point? EVE Online. S tier. S tier. If anything, for the fact that there's so many fantasy MMOs out there and there's only like very few sci-fi MMOs, and it is one of the best sci-fi MMOs out there. You get a spaceship, you can go mining, it's very open world and sandbox, you can contribute to the player economy, everything in the game, like 98% of the game is player driven. There's some quests and instances you can do in the game now. But for the whole, like, you can get your ship, decide which skills you want to have, and you just go out there and really do whatever you want. It really supports any kind of gameplay that you want to go with it. So yeah, S tier. Anything that's open world sandbox and done really well, like, that has to be S tier. There's very few MMOs that really get that. And then lastly, we have Shin Megami Tensei. I honestly don't remember playing this game at all, but my younger sister swears that we have played this. I guess I chose to make an account because of her, but she said like it was kind of a similar situation with Kitsu Saga, except when we logged into the game and looked at how the job and skill system worked, we were like, holy crap, this is way too complicated for my meager mind to comprehend, so we just like noped out of there really quickly. But I mean, I think I would have remembered if I came across an MMO that had a super complicated job system, but I don't know, I guess it was so bad I blocked it out of my memory. So I guess on that note then, I probably put it in E tier, because I mean I can't justify putting it on F tier because I don't remember if it was bad. So I would say I would put it in E tier. So yeah, none of the 23 MMOs I played made it to B rank. It was like S, A, or just all the way down. Yep, 23 MMORPGs in 10-year period. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be playing any new ones. I mean, I really am interested in trying out Ultima Online and EverQuest eventually, because those are like the grandparents of the modern day MMOs. But I don't know if I have the time to do it. And then there's also one other one that my friends want me to play, MechWarrior Online, because I've played MechWarrior on PC, and I'm a big giant mech fan. So that's an MMO that's really up my alley, but I just never got around to trying it. I'm sorry guys, I know you guys have been saying like, man, you like Gundams, you like Zoids, you like giant mechs, like you should play MechWarrior Online. And I'm like, that sounds really cool, but I just never really got around to doing it. Maybe someday I will, maybe not. I mean, I'll definitely make a video if I do hop into it eventually, just to see my little noob self trying to figure out the controls. So yeah, that's my tier list for all the 23 MMOs I've played. Everything in S tier I still actively play these games, so I have them installed on my computer and I update them every so often so I can like hop in whenever I want. So there you have it. That's all the MMOs I've played. This is Zero Raptor signing off. Laters.